Welcome to Lawyers in the House with Motley. Wish you had a lawyer in the family? Now you do. Here's your host, Veronica Waters.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Lawyers in the House with Motley. I'm Veronica Waters. So happy to welcome you into the house today with us. Thanks for being here on WSB. When the new year hits, so many of us are already thinking about the summertime and getting our beach bodies ready, right? We're making New Year's resolutions so we can sort of say bye-bye to our winter bodies and say hello to our warm weather bodies, or the ones that we're hoping that we're going to get. But when the warm weather hits, or when we go on vacation at any time of the year, if you're like me, you are headed out on the water for fun. I like to swim. I want to snorkel. I haven't yet learned how to scuba dive. That may not be on my bucket list quite yet. And or we're jumping on boats. And I never really think twice about my safety when I'm out there, other than paying attention to maybe what the tour guide is telling me, or making sure that I wear a life jacket when I'm out on the lake or on the sea. How many of us really think about safety when we're out there having fun? That's what today's episode of Lawyers in the House with Motley is all about. Swimming and boating safety, how to keep you and your loved ones safe when you are having fun on the water. And to do that, a guy who's been boating, honestly, since he was a little kid. And you know him. He's one of our favorite guests here on Lawyers in the House with Motley. He is Michael N. Rubin. And I know I say this every time, but the N stands for never give up, because he fights so hard for his clients each and every time someone comes his way with a sad story and an injury. He is going to fight for you. Michael has been an attorney since 1999, having gotten his degree at New England Law in Boston. Before that, he got his BA at the University of Maryland. What was your major?
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice. Mm-hmm. Did you always know that you wanted to be a lawyer?
I did, because my grandfather practiced law. He went to the Citadel, and then after the war went to law school at the University of South Carolina, and he practiced law in Charleston for about 60 years.
Wow, that's incredible. What a role model.
He was unbelievable, and that's how, I would just see how he would help people, and that's what I wanted to do.
Michael's reputation among his clients is someone who not only fights hard for them, but has a lot of compassion and care on his way to winning their cases. And he's among the 1% of attorneys who are members of the $1 Million Advocates Forum, which is a prestigious group that's where membership is only extended to folks who have won $1 million settlements on a routine basis. And so this is the guy, right? This is the guy whose face proudly graces the halls of the $1 Million Advocates
well, and
Clubhouse. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and unfortunately, to get that type of money, they're serious cases. And for instance, what we're talking about today with swimming and drowning and things like that, those are sadly the types of cases that would get results like that if someone else was negligent in causing the death or serious injury of someone.
And thank you for bringing me back down to earth, because a lot of people think about dollar signs, and it never makes anybody whole. Mm-mm. Once you are. Thank you for that. I feel, please forgive me, everyone, for seeming to celebrate this great achievement, because it really is, it's an achievement because it shows your dedication to your clients. But it is something that families probably wish they never had to go through in the first place.
Of course, it's sad. And I tell people this all the time, because, everyone, if they have a claim, whether it be something from a boating or swimming or from a simple rear end accident, they always want to talk about money. Like what is it worth in terms of, if I am hurt and I have this injury? And I understand they're trying to figure out, because they're in a lot of pain, so they are interested in their case. But I always tell them, you don't want your case to be worth a ton of money. That means you're really hurt. And there isn't really, once you get to that point, there is no amount of money that's going to make you whole. So try to avoid getting hurt in the first place. And, obviously that can't happen if someone else is negligence. But we talk about it all the time in situational awareness, and that comes to play in this situation too. Just try to keep yourself out of trouble, because you don't want to get in it. It doesn't matter how much money you get.
Evidence that Michael Rubin's priority always remains the health and safety and the care and the well-being of his clients. Thanks so much for being in the house with me today, Michael N. Rubin.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You talked about something that is so real and maybe not talked about enough, and that is how terrible a personal injury case actually has to be before we see how these dollar signs rack up. And drowning is one of those things that is very final. You can come close. You can have an accident on the water, but drowning sometimes is just not something that we want to think about. And it's final.
Oh, it would certainly be a scary way to be injured or sadly to pass.
Terrifying.
But yeah, and the even scarier thing is that it can happen in inches of water. So it's a matter of understanding where you are and what's going on, and if in a swimming situation, whether it be a lake or a pool, how deep is the water? I mean, you're jumping in maybe or anything like that. There's so many hazards in any situation that it becomes difficult to know sometimes. You can go on Georgia has beautiful national parks and state parks with waterfalls and trails, and some people jump into those things.
Oh, wow.
And, you don't
into
know
a body of water that
Sure.
they've never been in. I've always
Sure.
Now, one of the things I do know when on vacation is that you're not supposed to jump headfirst into a body of water when you don't know what the bottom is. Bottoms can be very tricky, and you don't want to it's safer if you're going to jump in feet first, right? You could get a traumatic brain injury that way, and you could get a TBI from other accidents too. Your boat could capsize, you could fall overboard, you could be in a collision with another vehicle. You talked about how beautiful Georgia is. We have all these gorgeous lakes here. 10 million people visit Lake Lanier every single year.
That's a lot.
And there have been somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 deaths on Lake Lanier in that time frame. That's a lot of lives lost.
It
and
is.
Nobody plans on that.
It is, and obviously all of them probably weren't avoidable, but I would have to imagine a good number of those deaths could have been avoided had proper either safety procedures or just paying attention occurred at the time. Most boating accidents, people love to boat. And when they do, they love to have a good time. And I don't blame them. I mean, you're out there on the water. It's freedom. It's like flying in a sense. There's no roads. You go where you want to go. It is the ultimate freedom, and it's the ultimate, I don't want to say for, testosterone or anything like that, but it's, you're hitting a lever and going fast and the front of the boat lifts up, and it's an experience that you cannot get anywhere else. There is just no other experience, and it can be frightening and it can be fun, but it's dangerous either way.
Yeah.
So and people just don't understand that at all.
You talked about how some of these things can be avoidable. I know that there are probably folks out there who are never going to get on a boat unless they've got their cooler full of adult beverages right next to them.
Oh, yeah. Well, even as a child, when I would go boating, usually what you do is you get in the car, you drive either your trail in the boat or the boat's there, and you stop at the bait and tackle store, the local gas station, and you go in there and you buy a styrofoam cooler, you fill it up with ice, you fill it up with beer, and then you get some bait. And then you go. And it's early in the morning, usually, like 8, 9 o'clock, and you go out on the water all day. You're in the sun, the heat, the water's around you. You're you should be paying attention, as a driver. And, people, when you drive a long distance in a car, it's stressful. It causes some stress. So in a boat, you would think it would be the same thing. So people are already in a situation where they're not used to. People don't take boats to work every day. Well, not at least here. Some people may. But so it's not like they're used to it. Like you get in your car.
It's not like driving, which a lot of us do every day.
Right. And you're comfortable in your car. A lot of people get in their car and it's like, okay, if it's the seat's off a little bit, they'll know. So a boat, you're not even sitting. You're usually standing and looking around, or you've got the wind blowing and people, and it is loud. I mean, you're not going to hear anything. So you may hear a horn from another boat, but you're not going to hear someone screaming in the water. Like if someone's in trouble
That's scary.
from another boat, you wouldn't hear them if your engine is going. There's just no way. You'd have to see them.
And talk about like the freedom. Like another thing that's different from being on the road is that the road has these very defined lanes that you're supposed to stick at. I mean, I think I have never been at the helm of a boat. Not really, but unless you count that one time I took a picture
What about a
when
duck
I was
boat?
on vacation.
You ever been on a duck
in
boat?
Florida. I said at the helm of a boat. But it's like, how do you know which way to go? The whole waterway is moving beneath you.
Yes.
And there are no lanes that I've ever seen out there. I don't know how people navigate on the water to know where the heck to go.
The lanes become the waves in some way, because you want to avoid a choppy ride. You don't want your passengers or yourself bouncing up and down continuously. So you try to turn the boat and cut waves and go back and forth or make the ride as comfortable. But that's a skill. And even the most skilled boaters can't do that all the time. So you're trying to go your left, your right. There are some buoys that will tell you to stay to the left or right in a channel area. But most of the time, and that's usually around bridges or marinas, but most of the time it's an open, think of a football field with nobody on it, and you're just, that's it. So
Just kind of
just back and forth,
moving
wherever
around.
you want to go.
You got to know how to read a compass. I would think.
Well, I mean, or at least have a digital one now at this point.
But I think, and so you're doing all this, and what about, you don't know what's under that football field of water either. There could be obstacles, trees, especially if you're on a lake or something. I mean, once again, we're talking about what's on the bottom, what's coming your way. And then what about all the navigating through the water with the people, somebody's pulling somebody on a tube. You got jet skis moving back and forth. It's like the wild, wild west out there. The wild, wild water.
Wild, wild water. Yeah, it is in some ways. It is policed. I mean, there are, if you're on a waterway with the Coast Guard, they could be there, or Lake Lanier, they'll have boats out there that, I think it's the Department of Natural Resources, will have officers patrolling. But it's a needle in a haystack. You're really going and trying to find someone doing something wrong. It is very difficult to know when someone's in the water. So if you're driving a boat and someone's down skiing, let's say they fall, you better really be looking for them. It's not like you mentioned scuba diving, where there's a diver down.
There's a flag, right?
Or a bigger boat that you're kind of aware they're stopped. But it is the Wild West.
That is crazy. Let's talk a little bit about coming up on Lawyers in the House. Your position, Michael Rubin, as the father to younger folks who want to be out on the water. What's your liability if a younger loved one is on the road, or should I say on the roadway of the water?
Yeah. Well,
Coming up on Lawyers in the House with Montlake on WSB. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Montlake. I'm Veronica Waters here with Michael Never Give Up Rubin, talking about swimming and boating safety. And Michael mentioned earlier about how we don't want to get ourselves in trouble on the water. Sometimes the trouble that we face, Michael, can be caused by somebody else.
yes.
And sometimes we could be the ones negligent. So let's
Absolutely.
talk about the rules and the laws. Now, you guys take cases at Montlake from all over the country. I know this, but we're sitting today in studios in Atlanta, Georgia. So let's focus a little bit on the Georgia laws, okay?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, life jackets. That's a huge thing for me
Sure.
whenever I'm on the water.
Sure. I mean, that's the simplest thing that could save your life. And if you're 13 or under, you have to have a life vest on. There's it's the law, but it's also common sense.
Mm-hmm. And it only applies if you are in the cabin or outside a cabin.
Outside. If there's a cabin, bigger boat with a cabin, like with a closed door and you're inside, air conditioning, all that, it says you could take it off. Now, that varies state to state, but it says you can take off the vest, although I think it depends on the person.
Yeah, because you said if anybody's on your boat or whatever, you got a kid under 13, you're always going to have a life jacket on.
Even adults, you can't force someone, but certainly I would want to make everyone have a life jacket on, just because you never know what's going to happen.
You just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know. And you have to have enough life jackets for everybody
It's
who's
such
on
an
that
easy way
boat.
an easy way to keep yourself safe. Or
All right,
safer.
to keep yourself safer. All right, let's talk about jet skis and water scooters and
Sure.
that kind of thing. What are the laws around that?
Sure. Well, if you are 12 to 15 years old in the state of Georgia, you can take a course and you can drive a personal watercraft, such as a jet ski, without a problem. Now, once you reach 16 and you're older, so 16 to 150, God willing, one day we'll live that long, but 16 to 150, you got to take a personal boating course and pass the test, and then you also need a valid state identification.
And then the state of Georgia will put a little tiny anchor on either your state ID or your driver's license, letting the DNR or whoever's out there policing the waterways know that you have passed that course. Also, the state of Georgia makes those courses available online, and you can also do them in person if you choose. So you've got a couple of ways to actually take those
Very
tests.
important. Very important.
Georgia also passed a new watercraft law in
Yes.
2023.
They did. It creates a bigger buffer for people in the wake zone. So it's a safety. It creates an area where a boat can't create wake, which is waves, so that people are safer when they're doing jet skiing, anything like that.
All right, coming up on Lawyers in the House, we are going to talk about being on the water in a more sort of enclosed space, swimming pools. That's next. How do you keep yourself safe when you're splashing around in the pool? This is Lawyers in the House with Montlick on WSB. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House, friends. With Montlick, I'm Veronica Waters here with Michael Rubin, Montlick injury attorney, and we're talking about water safety today. What you need to know to keep yourself and your loved ones safe when you are splashing around in a pool or on a waterway in Georgia or anywhere else. Some great safety advice we had for you in the first half of the show. If you missed any of it, don't worry, we got you. You know, you should be subscribed to us on your favorite podcast platform by now. If not, let's get that done. Like, subscribe, give us a review, and remember that every new episode is going to come your way into your queue as soon as it drops online. You can always reach us at lawyersinthehouse.com or check us out on YouTube and see our smiling faces. As you are with us today, listening to us and Michael Rubin's smiling face in mind, we wanted to let you know you can also send us a question anytime. Lawyersinthehouse@montlick.com is the email address. So holler at us. We want to hear from you. Water safety.
Yes.
Such a serious topic.
Yes.
We are thinking about how much fun we can have on the waterways and not always thinking about how something deadly could happen.
That's right.
In the blink of an eye. Drowning is the leading cause of unintentional injury-related death for children ages 1 to 4.
Yeah. Drowning.
And the American Red Cross says that a child or a weak swimmer can drown in the seconds it would take to return a text or slap on a layer of sunscreen.
Yeah, it's awful.
You have to keep your eyes on people out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're not fish. We're reptiles. We're, mammals, and we cannot breathe water. So any amount of water in your lungs is going to cause a problem. So drowning can happen in inches of water in, like you said, almost an instant. You get the water in your lungs, and that's it.
Yeah, that can be all she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Such a tragedy. Let's talk a little bit about swimming safety. Of course, we can swim on the lake, but a lot of times we're in the pool in somebody's backyard or at the park, at the local water park. What do we need to know about keeping ourselves and our loved ones safe in that situation?
Well, I mean, a pool is obviously what we would call in the business an attractive nuisance.
Mm-hmm.
You see a pool, you want to swim.
Yeah.
Kids see a pool, they want to swim.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of safety that goes in that. Not as an owner of a pool, whether you're a community or a private pool that opens himself up to the public, or you have one in your backyard, whatever it is imperative that you know what's around the pool, how deep it is, where are the steps, everything involved. Make sure there's lifeguards there, or if there aren't, you better be watching not only your kids, but you probably should keep an eye on everybody. Things can happen so quickly.
I always remember the stories that have stuck out to me over the years about a child found in someone's pool, maybe their family's pool or a neighbor's pool. Are there any laws or rules about having your pools fenced in?
There are, and while the laws, they're general laws, they can vary in ordinances from city to city, but you have to have a fence. The fence, depending on where you are, how close the fence has to be to the pool, but there can't be a way for someone to get in there without, let's say, wanting to get in there, taking an overt action, opening a gate, something like that. And speaking of gates, the gates have to actually open out. So you can't have a gate open in, which, because I guess it's so easy, you have to intentionally pull the gate and then walk in.
That's good, because you could be leaning against a gate, it opens, and it's like, an invitation to this nice neighbor's pool.
Exactly.
Okay. What? You know what? How about, here's a curveball.
Okay.
What if you've got like a natural body of water in your backyard? A lake in your backyard?
Yeah. Well, if it's a lake,
you can't fence that off, can you? Can you fence that? You can't fence that off.
Well, no, because it's not your lake, probably. If you own the lake, you could, but I doubt there's any specific law that would tell you have to, because a lake is it's a natural occurring body of water. Yeah. But if I had, as a parent, if I had a house that backed up to a lake or a creek, I don't know that I would actually buy that if I had little kids, just because you let your child out, they go run and they trip and they fall in the water, you may not know. And I know I'm being overly dramatic, but little kids, just like buying a house on a corner of a street, the busiest street in your neighborhood or something, and there's cars all the time, you better be watching your kids. If you're have a body of water anywhere near your house, you better know where your kids are.
Accidents can happen. I recently had a story earlier this year about a law enforcement officer who actually drowned in his backyard cutting the grass.
Yeah.
Lawnmower overturned. He was trapped.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's not just children that we have to be concerned about. You could just trip, hit your head, and your face could fall in a 3-inch puddle, and that's it. And that's all it would take. So a pool, I haven't seen any 3-inch pools, so that's a lot more water. Oh, yeah.
A lot more
more danger, potentially.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, but potentially danger as well. So you have to just recognize that and be aware of it.
So these statistics say that here in the U.S., at least 3,500 people drown every year, 3,500 to 4,000 people. That's like an average of 10 people dying every day from drowning.
Yeah, when I saw that, it floored me. I cannot believe that avoidable, some of them may not be, but you've got to imagine drowning most of the time can be avoided. And somehow it's happening. Obviously, we don't know how all these happen, but they're happening.
Tell me a little bit about what you need to know as a pool owner, and maybe for those folks in the folks who are operating those neighborhood park pools, the community pools, insurance has got to play a huge role.
Oh yeah, if you're like I said, it's an attractive nuisance. Everyone wants to swim. You see a pool and everyone gravitates towards it. Community pool, neighborhood pool, indoor pool, it doesn't matter. But as an owner or an operator of such a pool, you need to protect yourself, because unfortunately things can happen. Nobody's perfect, and mistakes happen, and tragedies do occur, sadly. So you have to protect yourself. Insurance would come in as an owner, and you would need to make sure, especially if it's in your backyard, that you have the proper coverage. God forbid something like this were to occur. Because even if you do everything right, even if you have a fence, even if you have laser beams going around your yard, if a kid wants to get in your pool, they're going to get in your pool. It could be 3 in the morning. When I was a kid, pool hopping was a big thing. You'd find a neighbor's pool and go in the pool, and they'd be sleeping. They wouldn't even know. And that is, not that I did that, but it can happen at any time, at any point. So you better make sure that you're prepared as a pool owner to make it as safe as possible, but also, God forbid, something bad happens.
Do you have to consider special insurance policies if you've got a pool?
Well, it's not necessarily special, but you need to tell your homeowners that you do have a pool, because obviously they'll rate you a little different. The risk changes in terms of what could happen to people on your property.
So, Michael, let's talk a little bit about the causes of drowning, if you will.
Sure.
What are the top ways or the top causes that lead to this?
Well, a life jacket. That's the simplest thing you can do. Now, you're not wearing a life jacket in a pool most of the time, but the kids wear. If your child doesn't know how to swim, when I was a kid, it was the floaty arm things.
You got the little
now
floaties.
It's like a vest and like a string attached to the sky. I don't know, but there's a lot of safe things that you can do for your child.
So, lack of life jacket.
Flotation device.
Safety
flotation devices. And even have them around your pool. A ring or a boat, something you can throw in the pool that,
Yes.
before you jump in, so maybe they can grab it.
And that's a good, you know what, you brought something else up, because when I was researching boating and swimming safety, one of the things that I read is this phrase called throw, don't go. If
Right.
somebody goes overboard or you're trying to save somebody, I think
Right.
only the strongest swimmers really could do that. And,
Sure.
if there's no lifeguard around, or the lifeguard is, maybe there's no, do they have lifeguards on the pool? I mean, on the lake? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, maybe certain private
Maybe on the
beaches or
maybe on the
stuff, yeah.
shores,
Yeah,
but when you're
not
out
in the
there,
middle.
when you're hundreds of yards out, right? So throw, don't go. Make sure you have something on your boat that you can throw out, so somebody can reach for it and you can kind of pull them in instead of diving in. How many stories have we seen
Yeah.
where somebody unfortunately lost their lives because they were rescuing somebody else?
Yeah, ultimate sacrifice. And those flotation devices are for not only for the person that's in trouble, but for you as the rescuer as well. Because if you probably aren't doing that every day unless you're a trained lifeguard, and it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and the
you
person's
don't even
panicking,
know
they're
how
thrashing around, they're grabbing at you. It's a tragedy.
So
Yeah.
having a flotation device at any body of water around is important, especially on a boat. Let's say you definitely want to have a ring and some stuff.
Second highest cause of drowning, booze.
Oh yeah. Well, we talked about that a little earlier. You stop and before you go boating and you drink. And if you're in someone's yard or you're in your community pool, my neighborhood, the community pool, they get kegs once in a while. If you're not encouraging people to consume alcohol, I would imagine that's pretty much what that is. So you have this environment where people like to have fun, and part of having fun
For some people, involves cocktails.
That's right. And it doesn't mean they're drunk. They're just like a drink or two. But a drink or two, maybe you're off a little bit. And maybe that off a little bit can cause a problem, a serious problem.
Yeah. It's your reaction time slows. Your attention is distracted.
Takes a second.
Just a second. Third highest cause of drowning.
Not knowing how to swim. If you don't know how to swim, probably shouldn't get in the water without a flotation device. And even then, you probably want to make sure you can stand in that area. People underestimate water, the currents of water, the depth of water, the debris in water. We talked about things underneath. Lake Lanier has like a town underneath of it in the water, and trees. So there's so many obstacles and things to look out for.
You know what? Speaking of drowning, think about being out there in the ocean. Think about being, on vacation, or you're down in the Gulf or something, and rip currents, rip tides.
Oh yeah. They may not even have a sign out saying that the rip tides are bad because they don't know yet.
They don't know yet. Yeah, a lot of times the first time the first hint you get is somebody's being pulled out. So you have to swim parallel to shore until you're out of the riptide before you try.
How many of us have
swim
ever been
back
to the
in?
beach, gone out in the water by our parents or a friend, and all of a sudden you look up and you're 100 yards or whatever down from them? You don't even realize it. You're moving with the water.
And you don't even realize it.
There's no perspective.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
perspective.
And fourth,
The fourth would be hypothermia.
when
The
you
water's cold.
the water's cold in that lake.
yeah.
It's
We're
not heated
98
like it's not
degrees.
heated like your backyard pool.
Right. Our body temperatures are supposed to be 98 degrees, around there. Some people fluctuate, but if the water is 60 degrees, that's considerably lower. So while
and
you'll
think
be
about
fine,
how fast it's going to suck the heat from your body when you are floating out there. Michael Rubin talking about water safety. Coming up, the Motley closing argument. Stay with us. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Motley. I'm Veronica Waters here with Michael Rubin, Motley injury attorney for decades now. We're talking about water and boating safety, and it's what you've been waiting for all hour long, the Motley closing argument. Today, the Motley closing argument is going to start off with a story because, Michael, I know that you guys at Motley have handled so many drownings, boating, swimming pool safety cases, injury cases over the years.
Yeah, unfortunately, because generally speaking, when you're talking about these cases, they're death cases. Most of the time, there is no coming back from drowning. Sometimes you can get lucky, someone's around, and they can pump, get the water out of your lungs. But they're usually fatality cases. And sadly, several years ago, I was involved in it. It chokes you up even to think about these things. But a young child visiting a family member. He lived in New Jersey and was visiting a family member here in the Atlanta area and just wandered outside. The family had a pool, and the next time they saw him, he was gone. And that's just, it's really, really, it happens so quickly, and it can change the lives of so many people in an instant.
What do you do in a case like that to make a family whole again and to keep them from raking themselves over the coals because they had to be racked with guilt?
Yeah, sure. As far as the mom and the family of the deceased, it's a very difficult situation. And the people, they're going to have guilt. They're going to, there's no real way to avoid that. Someone on your property died. That's something that'll live with you forever.
But you've got to have stuff in place, right? When you get a pool.
Oh, yeah. Well, not only just to protect your own family, but protect anybody. For instance, in most jurisdictions, they're not going to pass your certificate of occupancy, let's say, or you can open your pool unless you have like alarms on your house, the windows, the doors, everything that exits your home. Anything that someone can leave that can get to that pool, it has to have an alarm. And it's so difficult to use that a lot of people probably try to avoid it or pull them down, which isn't right, because you have to press a button and hold it and open, and from the outside you have to do the same. But it's going to keep a kid from drowning, most of the time. They're not going to be able to get out without you knowing.
Yeah. What do you want people to know as we leave them today? They've got to not only have these protections in place in their backyards, but I think you want people to know their limitations.
Yeah,
know if you're a strong swimmer or not.
Yeah,
right?
Know who you are. Water is like we've said. The theory is that this is one of the more severe types of injuries you can get: a drowning, a lungs, things like that. It'll cause a brain injury, lack of oxygen. There's so many things that can happen.
Even if you survive, it could change your life forever.
Yeah.
And even a strong swimmer can drown.
Oh yeah, that's being overconfident. Probably is another. Maybe that's a leading cause too, I would think.
Know your limits and know the laws. We're talking about water and boating safety. Thank you so much, Michael Rubin from Motley, being here with us in the house. We'll see you next time. I'm Veronica Waters.